the normal way to have a son is to get married, buy a house, get properly settled in, furniture and so on, and just wait for a bit.
Hace más de 30 años, Stephen Fry y Hugh Laurie dejaron claro, entre risas y sátira, lo absurdo de oponerse a la educación sexual en las escuelas. En un memorable sketch de su programa A Bit of Fry y Laurie, se burlaron de quienes, en nombre de la moral, prefieren que los niños crezcan en la ignorancia antes que recibir la información necesaria para enfrentarse al mundo.
You know why I'm here.
I don't think I do.
Tell him.
Tell me what?
Tell him what you told your mother last night. Come on, sexual intercourse
can often bring about pregnancy in the adult female.
can often bring about pregnancy in the adult female, yes.
Yes?
Yes, well, I'd like an explanation if it's not too much trouble.
An explanation of what?
An explanation of how my son came to be using language like that in front of his mother.
Well, I assume it's something that Michael's been learning in his biology classes, is that right?
Just like, but this is something he's actually been taught in a classroom. I mean, what is going on here?
Well, we're trying to teach your son.
Are you indeed? Trying to teach him what? How to embarrass his parents? How to smack himself with heroin? What?
Would you rather that Michael didn't attend biology classes?
Well, certainly I would, if those are the kind of lies I could expect to hear repeated at the dinner table.
They're not lies, Mr. Smear.
Oh, aren't they? Are they? What? Sexual intercourse can bring about pregnancy in the adult female?
Well, that's quite true.
True my arse.
Well, what would you rather we taught your son?
Values, respect, decency, standards. That's what you're here for. You're not here to poison my son with a lot of randy sex talk.
Michael definitely is your son, is he?
Well, certainly is my son.
Well, then it's safe to assume that at some stage you and Mrs. Smear must have had sexual intercourse.
Right, that's it. I've had enough of this. I'm going to knock some sense into you myself.
Mr. Smear, how can Michael be your son if you and Mrs. Smear have not had sexual intercourse?
Michael is my son
Yes?
in the normal way.
And what, in your opinion, is the normal way to have a son?
Well, the normal way to have a son is to get married, buy a house, get properly settled in, furniture and so on, and just wait for a bit. Make sure you eat properly, 3 hot meals a day.
3 hot meals.
Hot meals, yes.
And Michael just sort of popped up, did he?
Yes, well, of course, it's a few years ago now, but I think, yes, one day he was just there.
And at no stage did you or Mrs. Smear engage in any act of sexual intimacy?
Yes, it's very hard for you to believe, isn't it? It's very hard for you to believe that there's still some of us who can bring a child into this world without recourse to cannabis and government handouts.
Well, I don't know what to say.
No, I bet you don't.
Right, okay, so what do you want me to do?
Well, it's perfectly obvious, isn't it?
Not to me.
Well, I mean, if I go to Littlewoods and say that I'm not happy with a cardigan, for example, well, they'll change it for me, and gladly.
You want me to change your son?
Well, of course I do. Mine is soiled now.
I'm afraid we don't have any spare sons.
Typical, isn't it? Well, what have you got of equal value?
Oh, we have got some locusts in the biology lab.
Locusts? Do I have your assurance that these locusts will not embarrass Mrs. Smear at table with foul language? How many of them are there?
Well, there are 2 at the moment.
What do you mean at the moment?
They're married, you see, and they've bought their own cage and some furniture and have settled down and are having 3 meals a day.
Hot meals?
Warmish.
So Mrs. Smear might one day become a grandmother.
It's a distinct possibility.
She'd like that.
Spanish Revolution.